Shalom. I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem HaKakodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the brothers that's teaching this truth and sincerity. And shalom to the hopeful elect, 1/3 sincere listeners. All right, Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahushai being the name of His Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This gospel is truth, the kingdom of heaven. Salvation is for the Israelites and the Israelites only. Who are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? And the ones scattered abroad that may look like the other nations. Okay, but your spirit resonates with this truth. The kingdom of heaven, salvation is for you. All right. This video is just going to be a response to this photo here. I'm going to probably figure out the title in the post-production. But what you have here, I just wanted to point this out because this is what I saw in the spirit, is this Cooper Flagg. He's more than most likely a Jake. All right, I believe he's a Jake. You know, some brothers may disagree, whatever. You know what I mean? But you gotta be a Jake to compete with Jake. All right, so he's able to. He goes hard. You know what I'm saying? He's balling hard. He's #1 draft pick. All right, in the NBA, whatnot. You know, whatever. But yeah, he can compete. He can jump. He can dunk. Whatever. White boys can't jump. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? But he can do all that. You know, facilitate the rock. Whatever. It's not necessarily all about that, but he has the athletic ability to compete with Jake, and we know Esau doesn't have that. You know, so I'm just looking at it from a spiritual lens. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out is because this woman, all right, she's more than most likely Eve. All right, I don't believe she's a tear either. I could do some research on it, but that's not the point. You know, we get at Eve, or not even say we get at Eve. We tell Eve do whatever she wants. You know what I'm saying? She wants to be with the devil. She wants to be with the so-called white man. So be it. Right? But I'm going more off of the hypothetical, right? That you know, us being Israelites, we got to be spiritual, right? And I'm just using these two as an example. I'm not saying they're of the elect. Okay, I'm just using this as an example that what if there is an Israelite who looks so-called white, Israelite man, he comes to the camp. His father is so-called white, and his mother is so-called black, right? And he believes in everything we're saying. I'm sure there's brothers in GMS that are so-called white, right? And they probably deal with Eve. You see what I'm saying? So are you gonna be butthurt about that because he's dealing with Eve, because he looks like a so-called white boy, but he's really an Israelite? You see what I'm saying? These are all things we got to consider as well. And that, you know, we don't, you know, obviously as a man, especially if you believe in this truth, man, you don't want your woman dealing with no other nation or man. Okay? But you can't be ignorant of these things, and that's why I'm bringing this out. Right? We still gotta consider, you know, the Most High is out there when it comes to stumbling blocks. And the Lord can, you know, pretty much use this as a stumbling block, right? You know, on the other hand, though, Eve, right? You see Eve, she just thinks she gotta, you know, Eve's not spiritual for the most part, you know? She's not in tune with what's going on for real. In her mind, she just think, okay, I got me a white boy, and she's happy. You see what I'm saying? Not knowing that that white boy is an Israelite. You're not no Edomite. He doesn't go back to the seed of Esau, right? So even in our day-to-day, right, there could be, well, in the spirit, we already know, oh, that's an Edomite. But we sometimes see Eve with Esau. But is that really a Edomite that she's with? Who knows? You see what I'm saying? But we try the spirit, and it doesn't even matter because it's none of our business. So who cares? Eve, do whatever you want. right? We're only looking for the true, sincere. We're only looking for the elect men of Israel and the elect women of Israel, but mainly the elect men. And through the elect men will come the elect woman, okay? The elect lady, right? But like I said, there's two sides to a coin. You know what I'm saying? I'm just bringing this out to make a point. It wasn't supposed to be no long lesson. I'm gonna have to figure out a thing to call this, but we'll grab a couple scriptures, and Lord will you be edified. You know, Matthew 23:13 said, "But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in." Yeah, because a lot of you Israelite groups will look at a guy like Cooper Flagg and say, "Yo, that's an Edomite, that's an Edomite." You know, and another thing, you know, there's a lot of white boys that's balling in the NBA, but guess what? They're all Jakes. Most of them are Jakes. Okay, if you look at Luka Doncic, you can't tell me that's not a Jake. All right, dropping 40 on heads on because you know there's these colorist Israelites, right? So this white boy here, so-called white boy, whatever, he's dropping 40 on your head, on a nigga's head, right? He's not an Israelite. All right, that white boy, Austin Reeves, that's a Jake. All right, you can't tell me otherwise. That's not to say I'm just using this as an example. These Edomites are cheering hard for, you know, that's the thing. These Edomites will cheer hard for these Israelites that look like these other nations because they think that's them, and it's really not the case. You know, who else? Jokic, Nikola Jokic. That's a straight up Jake, man. You can't tell me otherwise. All right. Now I'm not saying these guys are of the elect. I'm just saying, you know, prophecy say that we would be scattered. All right, we would look like the other nations and all these things. So we got to consider the outcomes that the Lord has for our people, man. All right, the Lord, you know, He has these X variables, man. All right, He can do these things. Let's see. This is Deuteronomy 28:64. It says, "And the Lord Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other." And this is a curse that was going to befall upon the Israelites. All right. Best believe that. All right. And you know, it's a hard concept to grasp because Esau really has the covering cast on these people, having you believe that there's so many nations. All right, because he's put borders and all type of stuff, and have you holding on to that landmass. He really, you know, and I gotta do a video on this, but if brother wants to do, I'm gonna put it on the spirit. We live in a world where people reverence a landmass more than their father, right? And because if your father who brought you here, it's your father that put you on this earth, you should have the utmost reverence. Your lineage of the fathers, of the line of your fathers, that's who you should have utmost reverence towards and for, not no landmass. You know, you have to trace back your lineage through your fathers, not a landmass. That doesn't make any sense. All right. Jerusalem is a people before a place. All right. And there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Guess who's a god as well that they serve? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. He's a god on this earth that our people have served and believe in and follow his ways. Okay. And his belief system, and he teaches you what a nation is. What I'm gonna Google it right now. How many countries are in the world? Right? 195. I always say 170 plus, but call it 195. All right, so there we go. Almost 200 nations on the earth. So let's call it 200. All right, so it's better to call it 200 now. Just round it up. All right, for argument's sake. You see what I'm saying? But Esau uses this and says this is your nationality. One of these countries are your nationality, and everybody else is divided. So if you're a Jamaican, that's your nationality. That's your race. That's basically your race, right? If you're Nigerian, you're separate from a Jamaican. Your race is Nigerian. That's how Esau has divided the people, right? But right, you move to a so-called Western country, and if you're like the first generation of your people that were born here, what is that? What are they going to tell you? Like, for example, me. All right, my parents are from the Caribbean. They moved to Canada. Okay, I was born in Canada. So is my race Canadian? Or are these people going to tell me I'm an immigrant? But I was born here. I was born to this. So you see the confusion, right? But when you go based off of the lineage and the seed of your father, right, it makes much more sense. And we go all the way back to a man named Jacob, Israel. All right, from one of the 12 tribes, he had 12 sons. We go back to one of the 12 tribes, whichever tribe. But that's the lineage. All right. And you need the spirit to identify who your people are too. Matthew 5:13. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing. Right. You're able to see your people. They're doing things at abnormal, like abilities. Our abilities are enhanced compared to the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying? They marvel at us of what we can do. Okay, and it's a certain, Genesis 25. There's a certain characteristics that we have that you're able to identify as a collective who your people are, right? Genesis 25:23, and the Lord Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people, their mannerisms, how you act, the way you walk, the way you talk, right? 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And the younger was going to be stronger, and that's was Jacob. Okay, and we were the stronger people, and you see that. All right. And we get ended off here, and then because the main point is this was a heavy prophecy that was going to be fulfilled upon our people, man. Let's see, wheat tares. Let me end it off with this. It said Matthew 13. Tares among wheat. All right. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way, right? And you can even apply this to various captivities. Even if you want to apply it to even during Yahushua's time, the Herodians. All right, they were pretty much, they were breeding black women, but they were Amalekites, or they were Edomites, I believe, from Amalek, but they were starting to look like Jake. All right, just like Andrew Holness in Jamaica, the Jamaican Prime Minister. I believe he's a Herodian, so to speak, a tear. I actually don't believe he's an Israelite. He could be, but still, I feel like he's cosplaying. All right, why can't Jamaica have a so-called, not to say it matters, but why can't Jamaica have a dark-skinned leader, a dark-skinned prime minister? You know what I'm saying? It's a very psychological place over there, bugged out. All right, but even fast forwarding now to you know, to the 1600s when slavery was taken. Even before that, right? Esau was intermixing with our women from the 1200s, 1300s, 1400s, 1500s. Okay, especially 1600s in slavery in America. All right, so but we were doing intermixing too. So that's the thing. Everything was getting mixed up. But Esau, the so-called white man, was mixing too, mixing his seeds amongst our people, our women. All right, and but yeah, so this is what it's talking about. But while men slept, his enemy came, our enemy, Esau, Edom, and the rest of the nations, mainly Esau, Edom, so-called white man, sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up, he brought forth fruit. Then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in thy field? From whence then it hath tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. All right, and that harvest is really talking about the day of election, the day of salvation, man. All right, because Jacob's trouble is not just going to be for prototype Israelites, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It's going to be also, really, it's going to befall upon a lot of you Israelite foreigners that look like the other nations. Okay, you're going to get caught up out there. Okay, especially if you look like Esau, Edom. If you look like the vagabond, the fugitive, people are gonna think you're the fugitive. You got the mark of Cain on you. So when all hell breaks loose, Jacob's trouble is not just for Jacob, man. It's for all nations. And if you look like the other nations and you're Israelite, all right, and you're not covered by Yahweh Shem Shai and the angels, it's gonna be GG's for you. It's gonna be up. It's gonna get real for you. All right, that's why we're calling unto our people so they can get that protection. Right? So let both grow into the harvest in the time of harvest. And I'll say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. All right. So I'm going to end it off there. Lord will, you're edified. I'm going to say shalom and to the next one.